They Shook Hands Year 1, Chapter 5, Part 2. As Draco began relating the Weasley incident, as he called it, Tracy and Millicent, Pansy and Theo were bickering again. Harry thought about his day. With 4 classes behind him, Harry thought the transfiguration seemed to be the most difficult. He was feeling pretty uneasy about it. Professor McGonagall seemed to be a very demanding taskmistress that wasn't likely inclined to mercy. Professor Flitwick, on the other hand, rather seemed to like him. Harry figured he'd do quite well in charms. He had certainly been embarrassing with the admitted of Professor Dumbledore's stack of his books, but the class was interesting. Just herbology interesting in its own way was herbology. He already learned the wolfsbane was also called monkshoot. Professor Sprout mentioned, as you remembered from his reading, that it was a deadly poison. History of magic seems to be the worst of the lot. It appeared to be good for nothing other than 40 winks. How was he supposed to stay awake through the Montoni event? He didn't know. At least he wasn't alone in that feeling. Binsley was born, you worried to tears. Abraham was saying at dinner, "You're never going to learn your names, so don't get offended. Might also call you by your father's name. You get used to him." But the material Tracy prepared is so bloody boring. That's why you sleep in class and read your book later. You also do other reading to get the real picture. You make more of it than just one endless and then. History of magic is pretty interesting. How can you lie to them like that? Abraham just asked. You are the only person in the school who enjoys history. I like studying history. History is interesting. I've heard of make history, she said, tossing her head, sending her dark holes flipping back over her shoulder. Anyways, Abraham continued, if you apply yourself, don't let it become that dreadful, boring history stuff that you can bear through it easily. You might even learn a thing or two. So Harry, what was your first day like? Just asked him curiously. It was all wonderful, he said, meaning even the boring parts of the day had been worlds better off than the best day on private drive. I can't believe I missed out on so much. I can't even imagine going back to living like a muggle. His blood is singing to him, Draco said proudly. I'm glad you're back among wizards, Harry, where you truly belong. Jessica smiled at him. Dessert reserved. Harry stuffed himself on treacle tart. He was still reveling there was no Dudley around to take it away from him. You know what we should do after dinner, Draco said to Theo? What's that? Hexes, Theo grinned, and curses, of course. We haven't any free time yet. We really like to be prepared for the first defense lesson tomorrow, would you say? Be extremely imprudent to be unprepared. My thoughts exactly. Did anyone bring the defense book along today? I did, Tracy said. Good work, Tracy said Draco. Where shall we go? Theo asked. I'm sure there are plenty of empty rooms in the dungeons. Tracy responded to find a suitable place this afternoon's history and magic classroom. Excellent. We'll go now, shall we? Harry, Draco, and Theo and Pansy, Tracy, and Millie got up from the table. We're all glowing, blazed Dabney asked. We're going to work on some hexes and jinxes, Draco replied. Yeah, sounds like fun. Draco cocked his head in consideration. Would you like to come along? All right. Harry looked at Daphne Greengrass. How about you? Daphne jumped slightly. Me, I'd love to, thanks. Draco glanced at Crabbe and Goyle. You two may as well come too. Thanks, Draco, they said. Andrew appeared to be a normal classroom. There were desks stacked all on one wall, and a few boxes were perched here and there. Excellent find, Tracy, Theo congratulated her. I think it's some kind of storage room with nothing stored in it. It's perfect for all of us, Pan said, agreeing for once with Theo. Until we find more places, that is. We'll thoroughly explore the dungeons. Now we can all practice together. Crabbe will be our first text system, Draco declared. Crabbe looked uneasy. I don't know, Draco. I don't think I want to. Draco's jaw dropped. Am I going mad? Did the word thing just escape your lips? Crabbe no answer, so we nodded vaguely. Get up there and stand still, Draco ordered. There's not much you can do to permanently damage you anyway. Crabbe, still looking at mighty nervous, stepped out about 5 meters away and turned around. You do know all the counters, right? Not really, no, Draco said breezy as he wanted his wand. For an Unculus, he said. Red sparks spat from the end of his wand, just like when he tried to hex Hermione Granger on the train. Bloody hell, he cursed. I am saying it right, aren't I? For Runculus, Pants is sounding phonetically. For Nunculus. You're adding an extra N, Millicent said, frowning as she listened to him. For not for none. Deputy giggled. For none says something weird having to do with the C of E. Furunculus, the jelly red light with a white core flash from the tip of Draco's wand, striking Crabbe in the chest. Ah, he yelled. That hurts. Harry clapped his hand a few times, impressed. Draco looked up at the counter Kex and cast, giving Crabbe relief from the pain. Here's when Harry, Draco provided the gift of the scooping arm. Well, here it was. It was the first time to do actual spell. Harry was quite nervous because he was with his friends. Draco had gone first and failed. Harry didn't need to worry. He could do this, and if he couldn't, his friends would still be his friends. Furunculus, he wasn't sure why he picked the same hex, but it worked fabulously. Jelly red-white light shot up from his wand, striking Crabbe in the face. Ah, he shouted, clutching his face. Pick something else, will you? Way to go, Harry. Tracy congratulated him. Told you you're a natural. Counter Millicent said, looking at the suffering Crabbe. Harry wouldn't want to spoke at the counter hex, causing it was the face from Crabbe's face. The bigger boy was whimpering slightly. My turn, Tracy said, jumping into the front. What about me? Theo asked. Idiot boys get to go last, Pansy said, sticking out her tongue at him. I'll go last, but only if I get to hex you, he said, looking at her in a challenging manner. She scoffed him. Since I know you're too stupid to actually cast hex, I agree, but only if I get to hex you back. Theo's voice went high and prissy. Oh, she wants a proper duel, does she? We must all bend our knee to the crown, he mocked her. I'm looking for the nightshade, she reminded him. You wouldn't know the difference between the nightshade and the watchman, he scoffed back at her. Do it now, begged Crabbe. No more hexes at me. Shut up, Crabbe, Pansy snapped. Shut it, fathead, Theo snapped at the same time. Hey, Crabbe said, protested. My head's not fat. Furunculus, he said, ignoring the squabbling pair, sending a hex flying at Crabbe, who shrieked like a 4-year-old girl with a skin knee. Millicent took pity on him, though, sending her hex to Goyle, who was a bunch of nervous from watching Crabbe. Pansy and Theo had squared off, wands at the ready. 1, 2, 3, Draco drawled, clearly warned by their antics. Furunculus, Theo shouted, sending the jet of light towards her. She threw herself to the floor, dodging the hex. With the elasticity of youth, she bounced right back up. Furunculus, she cried. Her aim was off, and the hex sailed over her shoulder. Rictus Sempra, he yelled, sending a jet of little right at her, striking her in the chest. Pansy she with giggles, and she dropped her wand, clutching her sides. Not fair, she meant to say between giggles. Nice tickling charm, Millicent said admiredly. Picked up at the Malfoy manor this summer. Father said it was a harmless spell that could be put to very effective use by a creative mind. Draco was proud. I think I win this round, Theo said, holding up Pansy's wand. You're really evil, Tracy told him. You know how ticklish she is. Theo bowed mockingly to her. What do you think I use this sleep charm? Strategy, Tracy, strategy. You should do the counter. I didn't learn the counter, he said, circling his shoulders. Sure, you know the counter for the tickling charm? Nope. We can't just have to wait for her to wear off. Millicent was astounded, unless she could look it up for herself and cast it herself. Theo was unapologetic. Theo, Millicent was trying hard not to laugh. Daphne was feeling misery with the task for her part. Tracy leafing through the book. Here it is, she said, and spoke the words. Pants collapsed in an exhausted heap, still giggling, having quite lost control of herself. Slowly, her giggles began to fade away. All right, Draco said, Daphne, Blaze, your turn to show off. Blaze gestured Daphne to go first. She pointed to wanted Crab. Furunculus. Harry started to feel sorry for Crab as boils broke out over his face again. He supposed someone had to be the target. If they just asked stone wall, they wouldn't know if their spells were done properly. They continued to pass their hexes and curses until just before curfew. Then they gathered up the things to last the curses off Goyle and Crab and hustled with safety to the dungeons. Harry's feeling very satisfied with little work managed to cast all but 2 of the spells he tried. He'd done better than Daphne, who only managed 2 spells. Poor Blaze Daphne could do more than shoot sparks, no matter how many times he tried. Harry was very excited about defense against darkness and wondered how he was going to get any sleep. They got outside their common rooms as the bell told curfew. Now only previous teachers were allowed to be outside the dormitories. They didn't count the ghosts, of course. The ghost still under Harry, watching them float right through walls, enough to make his bones shiver. Harry was very tired and sought his bed. The others agreed with him. By the time he had changed his pajamas and laid down, his eyelids were very heavy indeed. He struggled to stay awake and participate in the conversation Draco and Theo were having, when the first thing he said was interrupted by a huge yawn. He gave it up, and was asleep before they could hear others wish him pleasant dreams. So yeah, that was Chapter 5 of They Shook Hands, Year 1. Chapter 5, settling in. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this, and I'll update you with Chapter 6 as soon as possible of They Shook Hands, Year 1. Take care, everybody. Ton the Legend, 826, out.